Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here. Happy Friday. Today we're going to catch up on some news from earlier this week, and that would be the Giga Berlin expansion plans, which were published on Wednesday. Then we do also have a couple new Cybertruck photos, a software update from Tesla, and a couple other items as well. All right, so looking at the stock, another little underperformance for Tesla today, finishing down 1.1% to close at $260.02. The NASDAQ up 0.2% on the day today, but we were still facing the rebalancing of the NASDAQ 100. So if we look at this, of course, that is going to be effective on Monday, which really means today's closing cross trade, like we talked about way back to the S&P 500 inclusion, would be when traders want to make the trade to minimize their tracking error if they are, benchmarked against the NASDAQ 100, which isn't necessarily as big as the S&P 500 by any means, not even close, but still probably has been having an impact today. And if we look at the top 100 NASDAQ stocks here, well, not surprisingly, we have declines for most of the top 7, Google outperforming, but otherwise, red performance across the board from those top 6 stocks, and then a lot of green for some of the smaller stocks. So the NASDAQ rebalancing definitely having a role, but as I said, this should now be completed as we head into trading on Monday. So hopefully no more dealing with that. All right, let's get into the Giga Berlin expansion. So Tobias Lind did a great job of summarizing the application documents. So I've linked to his thread on Twitter in the comments today. I would just recommend going to Twitter and reading that thread because Tobias obviously has a very good understanding of the factory progress, can speak German unlike me, and read it. So has done a good job of recapping it. We'll hit a couple of highlights here though, just to kind of level set everyone on where things are at right now. So as was discussed prior to this actually happening, the proposal here is for Giga Berlin to expand from an annual production capacity of 500,000 vehicles per year up to 1 million. And then of course we've heard many rumors over the years that hopefully there will continue to be expansions beyond that production level as well. And then also for battery cell production to increase to 100 gigawatt hours per year. Now, obviously, Tesla's battery cell production plans at Giga Berlin have been a little bit on hold. It seems like some of that equipment or resources have been rerouted domestically here in the United States due to the Inflation Reduction Act, but there are still plans for Giga Berlin to do cell production of the 4680s. So nothing new on that. We kind of knew that information ahead of time. And then it does mention here that the commissioning of the modified plant in accordance with the requested first partial permit is planned for the first half of 2024. When we think about timeline, so 6 months to a year from now. But this does say the first partial permit, which if we look closely at the expansion plans, the green is the first partial permit, the yellow is the second partial permit, the red is the third partial permit. So there is a sequence here, and this seems to be talking about just the first, which if we look at green, this is predominantly Tesla's current factory. So it's not clear to me exactly what the timeline might be for some of the yellow and red second and third stage expansion plans. Maybe Tobias Lind can help us out. Sometimes he provides some additional context in the comments, and if he does, I'll pin that comment. But we'll have to wait and see a little bit more on the timing. That being said, as we had talked about, this will be a new building to the north of the factory. It looks like this new building will be divided half and half into production processes in the north half. And then it looks like this is going to be logistics and warehousing in the lower half, which probably will then coordinate with the current factory as well. You've got logistics and warehousing stuff in between sort of two production, parts of the factory. So interesting to see that. And then of course, over here, some more of the battery cell manufacturing type of stuff. So that's kind of what we know right now. Again, I would check out the thread from Tobias. He goes through a lot of details on exactly how things are shaping up. They're going to put in some other things for solar power, for energy storage, like we've seen them installing now at Giga Texas. There's going to be additional parking added. So a lot of new things within this permit that Tobias has recapped on Twitter. And one that will be kind of interesting just for people that like Tesla, there is going to be a portion that will be open to the public here, the lobby, which I think Elon has always had aspirations of having more public interactivity at these factories, and we haven't seen a ton of that yet, but it looks like there is still plans with this second stage of the Gigafactory in Berlin to do this. There's going to be an event room with a bar, on top of the lobby, which again will be public access. There were a couple other public access things in these permits as well. So obviously right now this is still in the public review stage. This is a huge group of files. Let's go look at this. It's, I believe, 1.9 gigabytes of data from these files. So I think Tesla, when they were originally doing these permitting things, had shared a photo, or someone had shared a photo of just reams and reams of paper for these permits. So again, we're seeing a lot of documentation here that I'm sure is going to take people time to work through. And it looks like the public discussion period, well, I guess that's goes through October 23rd. If we switch over to international dating from my US dating system. So looks like we'll have about 3 months for the public to comment on these permits. All right, so moving on from that, we do have some new wraps on the Cybertruck that have been spotted. Mahesh Kumar on Twitter sharing a couple of videos and photos of a new wrap traveling down the freeway, I believe in California. So kind of cool to see that. If we go down here, some photos, the new digital camouflage wrap from Tesla. And of course, we have seen the previous camouflage wrap right here. And there's also a new post on Reddit with these vehicles showing 2 of them at the same time. So there's got to be at least 3 of them, because these are coming out on the same day, the Cybertruck, and it's pretty exciting to see it, in a new wrap and give us just a little bit of a teaser on, when we start to see many of these Cybertrucks running around with a lot of different customizations like we're seeing here. So always fun to see that. Thank you to those that have been sharing those photos. And then we do also have a software update from Tesla that we got some information on a little bit earlier, but is now starting to roll out. So we've talked before about the option for charge on solar. This will be included in the software update. So if you have Tesla Solar, and if you have a power wallet, you can set your vehicle to charge only when you have excess energy from solar, which is a nice change. There are additional camera views available within the live camera Sentry mode feature within the app. So that'll be nice. You don't have to kind of click around and wait for them to load. Spotify updates. I know a lot of people, including myself, will be happy to see that. I think it's supposed to look a little bit more like the Spotify desktop app. So looking forward to that. Warmer colors on the display. Optionally, you can reduce blue light, customize scroll wheel on SNX, blind spot camera positioning on SNX, and then a new game, Vampire Survivors, available in the arcade. And then Bluetooth game controller compatibility, which I kind of thought was already a thing, but must be new for 3 and Y. And then the last few items for today, Tesla has offered extended financing. Previously, we've talked about this in other countries before, but in the United States now offering expanded financing, potentially up to 84 months. So you can see an example here of Model 3 that's available in inventory right now for a 72 months, 5.9% APR loan. You'd be looking at a payment for this vehicle of $577. If you switch that to 84 months, your interest rate does increase to about 6.4%, at least in the configuration studio right here, dropping the payment down to $517 per month, but obviously extending that another year. So maybe saves 10% or so on the loan to add that additional year. But with interest rates this high, obviously that's a pretty long time. You're going to be paying a lot in the life of the loan in interest. But if you think you can beat that return in the markets or something like that, then maybe it does make sense and obviously does result in potentially a quote-unquote more affordable vehicle in terms of at least the monthly payments. So interesting to see that from Tesla. Not something that I would necessarily recommend, but again, it's always nice to have some additional flexibility. And then quick update on SpaceX. So Super Heavy Booster 9 is making its way to the launch pad. So, we had the last test flight here, or the first stacked orbital test flight back in April. And now we're getting to a point where it looks like things are maybe not close to ready, but getting close to ready for SpaceX to do another test flight, at least looking like it's probably on track for sometime this year, which was pretty much in doubt after some of the damage sustained to the launch pad after that first test flight. So good to see really rapid progress on that, and hopefully it means we're not too far away from another test flight, although obviously still some things to do, and it will of course be pending FAA approval. So time to continue to keep an eye on SpaceX's progress on that. And then quick calendar update as we head into next week. another big one with the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. So of course we'll get an interest rate decision on that. And we'll also have PCE, personal consumption expenditures, on Friday, though because of the recency of the FOMC meeting, probably a little bit less focus on that than there might normally be. So as we head into that Fed meeting, the current expectations, according to the CME Group FedWatch tool, are almost 100% expecting that there will be a 25 basis point increase. Of course, the last meeting there was a temporary pause, so it seems like the expectation is now for 25 basis point increases off and on in between meetings. If we go to September, the expectation is for the rates to stay 25 basis points higher than they are today, in whatever combination across those two meetings, with a little bit of an expectation for maybe two 25 basis point increases. And then you can kind of see how that tracks into November, maybe a little bit more expectation of another increase, but not too much. So that's kind of where things are at right now, but obviously we'll see how things shake out next week. But that'll wrap it up for today. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast. And we'll see you on Monday for the July 24th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.